I think you ought to know. Black Men's Radio. The place where men and women really speak. Oh man, what a show. It's Men's Radio. This crazy show is on 3 times a week. Now Russ and Phil are there to help with all your cares. We laugh, we cry, we talk like grown-ups do. But if you're sad and low, it won't cost you no dough. Men's Radio, that's the place for you. With Russ Kane and Phil Dave.
It's a good thing, quite honestly, that Ray Gelato is in Greece. Phil Dave. And again I say, Phil who? We have much better than Phil Dave, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Daily Show. It's Friday the 27th. God, nearly the end of January. How's that even possible? Better than Phil Dave. More glamorous than Phil Dave. And frankly, and I put my dog up there, more intelligent than Phil Dave. She is the queen of the Chazza. Ladies and gentlemen, Lesley de Meza. Ta-da! Nope, can't hear you. Oh, no, can't. Absolutely. You need to unmute your mic. While you're doing that, you're going to have to unmute your mic, and let's bring on our first guest. I'm going to take you off while you unmute your mic. Take you off now. Ladies and gentlemen, well, this is what you need to do. Mirrors, clutch, indicator, mirrors again, stick your hand out. Hello, Mark. How are you?
Good afternoon. I'm very good. Thank you.
That's excellent. Tell us who you are and what you do, because otherwise it makes absolutely sod all sense what I've just said.
Yeah, no worries. So my name's Mark Bourne. I'm the head of the Driving Instructor Training Academy at AA Driving School.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. How excellent. And you're here. I couldn't quite work out the link between mirrors, emergency, stop, emergency, and why you're here. But tell us.
So I'm here because at the AA Driving School, what we've done recently is we published some research into looking at what people are looking to do with their working life over the next year. And what we found is in 2022, we had trends such as the Great Resignation and quiet quitting and things like that. But as it turns out,
I never heard of any of that. We had the what?
The Great Resignation and quiet quitting. So quiet quitting is I'm only going to do my day job. I'm not going to do anything extra. I'm not going to put that 110% in. And I think a lot of that comes down to the fact of we're working from home, and we've done an awful lot for employers and things like that, I think, and so I think we're sort of perhaps taken back. But what our research has found that actually now people are perhaps changing from that and actually moving more towards I actually want to start to work for myself, or I want to have a career change. I want something that is a better work-life balance. It pays more money, which I guess we all want more money, but also to be able to pursue a passion. 42% of our interviewees they wanted to pursue a passion within their career, and so ultimately, I guess the link to us and the driving school is, of course, what a great passion to be able to actually teach people to drive, give them that next level of independence within their life and things like that. It's a great.
It's a little tenuous, but I see
a
what
little
you've done
tenuous,
there.
perhaps a little tenuous.
It's very interesting that you've decided to do that, because you'd think, well, it was kind of beyond the AA's remit. I've been an AA. I'm not kidding, not just making it up. I've been an AA member for like forever. So there you go. I've got my little card, and God forbid I ever need it. So it's interesting, because I think that the pandemic really was a tectonic shift in the way people thought about work, behaved, their working patterns. And I understand that people they think, well, I've had a glimpse of maybe what life could be. So why don't I pursue something that I really like? But at the same time, there's a huge economic pressure on them to produce the goods, pay the rent, be able to pop to Tesco's and buy what you want. It's a difficult balance, is it not?
Absolutely, that is it. It is, and I think ultimately, yeah, there's not all options available to everybody, but I think those that are able to sort of seek different opportunities and things like that, that is something. And I mean, our link. So we're the driving school part of the AA, and so ultimately, what we do is we take people that want to become driving instructors, train them to be driving instructors, and sometimes, that sort of career of being able to be your own boss, choose some of, to a certain extent, your hours that you're working, and set your own prices and to control your income a little bit more.
Is that how? I have no idea how you set your own prices.
Yeah, absolutely. So driving instructors are predominantly in the UK. Driving instructors are self-employed. They're all self-employed. So even the ones with the AA driving school on the side of their vehicle, they're working under a franchise agreement.
So what do I'm just curious, if they're how does it work that you get your revenue stream? Is your revenue stream the payment they have to presumably give for you to train them to a certain level of proficiency? Is that it?
So there's the initial training to be able to qualify as a driving instructor, and then beyond that, once they're qualified, ultimately it's a franchise deal where they have the car, the service, maintenance, repair, breakdown, all of that to do with the vehicle. They have business tools to help them manage their pupils, online diaries, website bookings, and online payments and things like that. And so ultimately they pay a weekly fee for that service, and then everything else is their earnings on top, apart from some money off for some fuel and keeping the car clean.
Yeah, it's interesting. Go on, Lesley.
I was going to ask a question. The question is this: I read up on what you're doing, Mark, and one of the things that occurred to me as the world's worst passenger, I am a phenomenally good driver. Okay, I need you to know that. I need you to hear that. I was a dark motorist way back when. But I'm a crap passenger. Presumably, this wouldn't be something that you would recommend I take up for a living.
No, well, funny enough, everybody doesn't like me being their passenger. So I don't. I put myself in that same bracket of being a really, a crap passenger. And everyone suddenly starts to drive very differently when I sit next to them. But certainly, I think if you are considering becoming a driving instructor, there's two elements. I think there is the element of, yes, you need to be able to coach somebody, you need to be a good mentor, you need to be able to really inspire somebody, because a lot of what you're dealing with is improving people's confidence that they can actually sort of navigate the road. And then, of course, there is the other side, because you're self-employed. You need to have good time management skills, know how to sort of promote yourself and recognize your own value. And things like that. But
I think I was thinking more keep death off the roads, because I'm talking about people who there are people who pass their test, Mark, who have learned to drive to pass the test. Fine, no problem with that. But there are people who pass their test who are really awful drivers, and then there are people that get other people to pass the test.
Huge issue. The DVLA, or whatever initials they have these days, has a huge department just looking after ringers, where people send in their cousins or brothers. They get paid about 750 quid a pop. They take the test, and Fred Smith gets the license, where Fred Smith has never actually learnt to drive. I think, especially in London, I don't know where you are, Mark, but especially in London, where the standard of driving is appalling. And I often think this guy or this woman has never passed their test. There's absolutely no way. The way they are driving, they've never passed the test. And I used to say it semi as a joke to myself. And now I think it's true. Do you widening the conversation?
I was going to say, widening the conversation. I mean, I know obviously the DVSA they have a huge department in terms of looking and making sure that the people that are taking the test are the right people to take in tests. And even this week, they've actually launched all their examiners are wearing body cameras, to make sure that the sessions are being filmed and things like that. Right. In terms of, I suppose, if you imagine you learn to drive, it's you and your driving instructor. As much as your driving instructor might try and broaden what you're learning to drive, there is still that test to pass at the end of it.
Yeah.
You pass your test, sitting next to an examiner for 45 minutes. And then, of course, you have lots and lots of other things now that you're suddenly responsible for. You have passengers, you have journeys that you perhaps not have done before, you have time pressures that you haven't done before. And so there's all these different things actually you can't necessarily learn in your learning to drive process, but
Correct.
you're now exposed to them. And of course, you have that freedom, because there will be people out there that, do want that thrill-seeking sort of environment, or have that bit of wanting to go that little bit faster. On driving lessons, they haven't been able to express that. On their driving test, they haven't been able to express that. They're not silly. They're not going to pass if they express that. But beyond driving test, they can do. And I suppose as well, the other challenge, of course, is very few of us actually have our driving looked at beyond the driving test. And it's perfectly natural that our skills might diminish. And also if technology changes, roads are busier. I mean, in London, I'm sort of on the outskirts of London, but certainly in London, it can be really, really challenging to actually keep up with all the different lanes.
It's horrendous. And what they've only done, I got to say, Mark, what they've only done, I had a long journey right from one side of London to the other last night, and I'd forgotten how ghastly, thanks to the idiot planners, Park Lane is. Park Lane northbound is a joke. One of the main spines of the capital city of the UK. One lane. It's a joke. It's awful. Average speed in London is now slower than Victorian era when we had horse and carts.
Quite possibly.
No,
I suppose the only other side of that, though, but I do like. I mean, obviously, I'm a driving instructor, but the roads are for everybody, and so actually, having some of the decisions, I think, of course, is to make it safer for other road users, cyclists, motorcyclists, pedestrians, and things like that.
It wouldn't kill them if they paid a little bit of road tax, would it?
I
wouldn't kill them.
Leaving that one alone, but
wouldn't kill them, Mark, if at night, especially where I am, they put some lights on. How are you supposed to see these people? I don't know. It's incredible. Is it not the law? Because you'd know this, that cyclists have to have lights front and rear.
So I think it's ultimately, I mean, it's in everybody's best interest, not just cyclists, but also if you think pedestrians and things like that, sometimes it can be really, really hard to see pedestrians. And we don't always think about it. When we're the pedestrian or we're the cyclist, or we only obviously see things sometimes from our point of view. But certainly, being visible makes lots of sense.
It's nuts. But you can get called.
Not just the cyclists and all the rest of it, but actually I get really cross with drivers who don't put their headlights on, especially on motorways and stuff. Do they think the battery will wear out? And they always,
no, you use the word think.
In my opinion, they always appear to be the drivers of very dark coloured cars. Black and grey cars think that they're visible, which is why I drive a bright yellow car, because it's the safest colour on the road.
Funnily enough, I drive a bright yellow car as well, but that's a little bit more to do with the AA.
Oh, of course. When was the AA started? It's like it's fantastically old, isn't it? Because I remember the gauntlet they used to have when I was really a little kid. They'd have the gauntlets and they'd be on their motorbikes. It was fantastic. It was fabulous to see.
I couldn't give you the exact date, but certainly, the AA, the first part of the AA was really to try and help motorists make sure they didn't get speeding tickets and things like that, and make sure they were aware that there might be a bobby around the corner.
Absolutely.
They might want to sort of think about their speed and things like that. Obviously, a very different organisation as we go now. But,
it's extraordinary. It's extraordinary. Listen, thank you so much. I know you've got a whole raft of interviews and everything today, so I better let you get a cup of tea in between having chats with goodness knows how many different radio stations. Thank you, Mark. You're welcome back any time. Very interesting. The most important thing out of all of this, if you do what you do with passion when you're working, it's so different from doing it from just earning a living. They're not always compatible, but it's something that I feel passionately about anyway.
I'd agree.
Thank you so much, Mark. Drive safe. Don't forget to indicate clutch. Don't ride the clutch. Don't ride it now. Bye. What a charming chap. Oh, can't hear you again. She's gone. Ugh, no idea. Now, slight atmosphere in Kane Towers today. Slight atmosphere. I will tell you what tell you what, I got to keep my voice down. Yesterday, keep this amongst yourselves, all right? Yesterday, Ebony, the mini schnauzer, needed a bath. I'm keeping it down because she's not far away. She will hear. So we went out. Does this happen to you? You go out. Let's see if Leslie's working again.
I think I am. It keeps switching itself off. Don't even ask. I don't understand it.
Did you buy it in the Chazza for £3?
I might as well have done. Let's not go there.
Anyway, what I'm saying is, Lesley, a slight atmosphere in Kane Towers today. Slight atmosphere. Went out for a walk yesterday, long walk. Looked quite nice. Got to the furthest point of the walk of my route. Boom! Heavens open. I'm drenched, dog's drenched. Neither of us in a great mood about it, but I was listening to a fantastic story, so I was kind of all right? Get back. Straight in the bath, in the shower, with the doggy shampoo and everything like that. Boy, oh boy, the atmosphere plummeted to sub-zero after that.
Can I just go back? Let me go back. You were straight in the bath with the doggy shampoo?
No.
Okay.
I'm missing Phil Dave straight away.
Well, I understand that.
No,
but,
it was separate. No,
okay.
I was dressed outside of the bath. I'm taking this in baby steps so I don't lose you here. And the dog was in the bath with the shower and the doggy shampoo to keep it all. So then I ended up with a wet dog that smelled of wet dog.
Yeah.
It's not a great smell. It's not a great, but then I use doggy perfumes and stuff, so it's okay. But afterwards, well, never mind Chrissy Richards in the south of Spain. Poor Ebony. What about poor me? It stunk. Come on, stop it. Actually, you're not Mark Bourne anymore, so there we go. I'll just get rid of this. So, explain to everybody what the Chazza is while you're here.
Okay. It's a term that actually my sister conned. She started calling any charity shop a Chazza. I suppose, like we call somebody called Charles, Chaz, I don't know. And it's stuck.
We don't actually.
Okay. No, of course not. But one half day a week at least, I volunteer in a local shop that is a charity shop. And it's known as the Chazza now. It's known over Instagram as the Chazza because I do an Insta on it every week. And it's great. I love it because I meet all sorts of different people, have a lovely time. We have our regular customers, all sorts of people, and it's quite interesting. I think it's got busier as people are tending to not buy new but recycle. And I could advertise our shop and say we have phenomenal stuff. I put a Calvin Klein gilet in the window yesterday. Gilet, oui, a gilet. I put it in the window yesterday morning, and within 5 minutes somebody came in and bought it.
Talking of quick sales, I've got a question to ask you about volunteering. I think it's really interesting. I think you get to a certain stage in life, you think, I'd like to volunteer. Talk about quick sales. I had dinner with a dear friend of mine who's been far from well, and I went over to see her yesterday. We popped out locally, and she's recovering. She'd had a huge stroke, and we've known each other for years, and she's a great person. Had to sell the house because couldn't manage stairs anymore. How long do you think it took to sell the house? Hazard a guess. Everybody guess. Come on. How long to sell a house?
Can I ask what month she put it on the market?
Oh, I don't know what month.
Okay. I would say 8 to 10 months.
8 to 10 months. Anybody else? Play along. How long to sell this house? You're welcome.
Where it is and everything else. But...
Well, it's in London. It was off West End Lane, that kind of area.
Okay, so we're
in North London.
Yeah.
Do you want to know?
You
said 8 to 10 months, right?
Yeah.
3 hours. 3 hours it was gone.
Blimey.
Full asking price. Boom. Mary G. Williams, who's over in, oh God, where are you? You're not in Texas. No, you're in Tennessee. You're in somewhere musical.
Sounds like
you're in the Americas, Mary G. Yeah, 3 hours.
3 hours.
3 hours, full asking price.
I mean, I suppose, you said how long does it take? I'm not going to try and backtrack, but I was thinking about the conveyancing, the searches, all the rest of it.
No, I don't mean the completion. I mean, from it going on the market and somebody buying the house.
Oh, fair enough.
It went on lunchtime. It was gone in the afternoon.
Incredible.
Full asking price.
Incredible.
3 hours. Yeah, I know. Stunning. Just extraordinary. And other places will stay on the market forever. Oh, look at this. Julie Voice from Houston, Texas. Mine sold in 1 day. Full asking price.
Yeah, I mean, I think if people walk in and it feels right.
No, the answer to that, Ramsey, is no. It was a lovely house in a very desirable area, and houses in this particular little niche hardly ever come up. So when they do, boom, they got. But 3 hours, I can get over it. No, people leaving London in droves. Yeah, it's. I want to get back to what Lesley was saying, and then I want to talk about the leaving London in droves, because I can really understand it. It's so overpopulated. I'm in and out of town umpteen times a week. It is so overpopulated. It's crazy. It's 50%. It's twice as busy as it should be. Not reflected in retail, with all the shops still going horrible in town. When you see them bust and you see empty windows, horrible.
Yeah.
It's like having a perfect smile and teeth missing. But
that's all to do with the rents that the landlords and the rates. Because people have said to me, well, surely the charity shop is rate free from the local council. No, it isn't. They withdrew that about 4 years ago.
I didn't know that. I thought they got a deal. That's why every bloody high street's got 28 betting shops and 53 charity shops.
No deal at all anymore. Not where I am anyway. Proper shops going bust. The shop, again, a local hairdresser that's been there since I was a teenager. We won't talk about how long ago that was. Shush. And the guy that owned that has just gone bust because the rents and the rates are so much.
What do they tell me, Sonny? You're an intelligent person.
Indeed.
You're an educationalist. You're an educationalist.
Yes, dear.
What are the people who are shoving the rates and the rent through the roof? What do they think? Who do they think is going to come in and take over? Where do they think this magic money tree is coming from? Because parts of London look like shit now. They really look terrible.
I have a feeling, and I don't know because I don't know enough about tax. That's why I have an accountant for the tax. But I think they'd rather have an empty shop and not pay as much tax than they would reduce their rent. Because the landlords are so bloody greedy.
Oh, they're greedy. They've always been greedy.
I mean, but I can't believe how much they charge in rents. I find it astonishing. And of course, the shops have now got the added cost of the power that services them as well, with no limit on how much that costs either.
It's nuts.
Yeah.
I think, and I've thought this for years, the high street's over. I think the whole notion of the high street's completely finished. It was lovely, and I think it died. And we just won't accept that it's dead, and we keep trying to do the same thing. Ramsey makes a point here. Hi, Ramsey. So some parts of London are an oasis. Yeah, but did you see the scenes at London Bridge Station? Well, I go past London Bridge Station like every day. No, I didn't. What was going on? I had no idea what happened.
It was dreadful. I think it was train delays and all sorts of things. The whole place became so overcrowded because of mainline train problems that they actually had to close the station down. Not the tube bit, but the main line.
Yeah, it's horrible. I can't deal with that. I get really I'm going to end up someone pushing me on the track. It's horrible.
Can I go back to what you were saying about the high street being dead? I suppose I'm lucky. I mean, some people say, ooh, suburbs and all the rest of it. Where I live has a village feel, and there are lots of little independent shops as well.
That's nice. I like that.
Yeah, it's. I mean, sure, there are some of those ghastly multiples, but
what's this? That can't be right, Chrissy. No. You're on drugs. Chrissy's in southern Spain, by the way. £180,000 to change a road. That can't possibly be right, sweetheart. That can't be right. It can't be 180,000 quid to change a road, son. I'd do it for less. I'd do it for half.
That's really weird.
That's weird. What's we got? One day I'll get to know how to work my new fabulous computer. This is interesting. Ramsey again, Ramsey Wymer-Salem. Big storm brewing about extending ULEZ, that's ultra low emission zone. If I had my old 63 plate 2 litre diesel, I'd have to pay 15 quid a day to drive the 2 miles into Greater London. No, this is a disgrace. This is another. Look, we're not London centric. I don't want men's radio to be London centric. That's crazy. I don't want that. But it's just nuts. So then you've got 15 quid for the ULEZ plus whatever it is for the so before you've bought a cup of coffee, that's 25 quid straight off the top for the pleasure of driving into your own city. What is this? Neil Sean. Oh, I love Neil Sean. He's a good mate. Said it in his video this morning in London. Well, that's just a con, isn't it, Chrissy? That's just an absolute con. £180,000 to change a road sign. That's a con. Can't be right.
Going back to the ULEZ, I'm really quite proud of my local council because they've refused to put up the ULEZ cameras.
Yay, fantastic.
No, we're not doing it. It means that everybody locally will suffer if they haven't got a newish car. And we're in the suburbs of London. You want to encourage what's left of the high street. People won't be able to drive around it. It's madness. But
it's very
down to one person, isn't it?
It's completely stupid. They want to. I've always thought there's a huge plan behind it, but that's just me. And people just think, "Oh, you're wearing a tin hat." But the older I get, the more tin hattish I seem to find myself. It's just stupid. Anyway.
Yes.
It's that time of week when I have to do this. There she is, ladies and gentlemen, live from somewhere. She's in England. I think she's in England.
I definitely am.
Welcome back.
Thank God to be home. I am.
Weird you say this. It's so weird you say this. So
honestly, I think I had 9 inches of snow in Denver and a foot of rain.
9 inches enough for anybody, Chantal. Thank you.
9 inches of snow in Denver and 12 inches of rain in Los Angeles. Oh. So I'm very pleased to come back and feel less soggy than I've felt for the last couple of weeks.
And the fringe has grown out. You were growing your fringe out.
It probably needs a bit of cutting.
Oh, right. So did you don't, it's so strange. So much of what you do is based on the West Coast and down in Colorado. So much of what you do there, you don't. I'd be thrilled, and yet no, you're so thrilled to be back. I'm never happy to be back.
Oh, there's no place like home. Let's face it.
Yeah, that's true. No. God damn.
Are you wearing little red sparkly shoes as you say that?
No, definitely not.
I don't believe we're in.
Although I did have quite a sparkly time. We had some fun guests at our BAFTA fundraiser just before I came back.
That looks fantastic.
Lovely. No, it was good. We had the lovely Catherine Zeta-Jones there and Michael Douglas and Gary Barlow. It was a fun evening. So, but I've put the celebrity thing back in a box for a while until I next go back out to LA.
It's so interesting. You are because it's your meat and potatoes. Like if you were in a factory making rivets, you'd have rivets. Your business is celebrities, and it's like that. It's irrelevant to you, isn't it? They're just it's a commodity.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's still sort of sparkly and fun, but I know what's really important to me, and that's not that sort of mad life that I had in Hollywood.
Yeah, I know it is bonkers. Though. Chantal, if I had a radio show, says Ramsey, I'd dedicate this song to you. It Never Rains in Southern California. That's by Albert Hammond. Yeah, absolutely, it was. I know that. I like that song.
It certainly did when I was there.
Yeah, how was the mood over there? They good?
Well, it was really interesting. There was all sorts of, things going on that people were chatting about. Clearly, they were chatting about the book, which we won't go into, because it's the book came from Southern California. It's being very heavily promoted around the world. It's still #1 in the shops. I saw in Smith's last night.
Christ.
And I was in Montecito, so I was
you're
there.
Kidding me! You went to Montecito? No, did you bring?
I did.
Rotten tomatoes with you? You didn't bring rotten tomatoes.
I'm having an English accent.
Yes. Hey, do you know how? Yes, I do. It's nice.
Yeah.
That's what I'd have said. That would have been the end of that. Where is Montecito? I don't even know where it is.
Montecito it's about 5 miles south of Santa Barbara, which is about 75 or maybe 85 miles north of LA on the coast.
Oh,
and actually it's the only bit of coast that feels a little bit Mediterranean. So it's rather pretty, but it's high, big, beautiful mountains behind it. And we were on, the house I was in was on one little hillock, and Harry was on the next hillock along, seemingly.
Hillock being the term that I would use. Something close to that. Jeez.
So there's lots of chat about that. But I was also slightly worried about the economy, although the various people were saying that there were sort of signs of the economy coming back on track. But Santa Monica, which is where all the Brits live, which is on the coast, the main high street is called 3rd Street Promenade, and half the shops were shut.
Oh, wow.
And it's been like that since COVID. And I just thought, not great.
Yeah, but don't worry. Biden says everything's great. So, of course, everything's great. And he would know because he could just check the documents in his garage to double check that it is all okay. What an arse. Here we go. Ramsey, who's very chatty today. We love this. I'm chuffed that my neighbour, Bill Nye, oh, he's my acting god, was nominated for an Oscar. My kids went to the same
he was
school.
At the BAFTA party.
Yeah. We see him at Crystal Palace where he does a lot behind the scenes. How fantastic is that?
Really?
What a lovely guy.
Nice.
What an actor he is. And it goes, loved Banshees of Inisherin, but my US friends didn't get the humor.
I sat in the cinema when I watched it virtually on my own. There were about 10 people in the cinema, and I've got rather a loud voice, and I was laughing like a drain. But there were obviously a lot of people in the cinema who didn't get the gag, as it were, and kept looking at me as though to say, what on earth are you laughing at? It's very black humor. So, but it's extraordinarily well written.
And before we get on to stuff, one of the things, when I lived in America, one of the things that astounded me, and I wasn't prepared for, that if you go to the cinema in America, the audience reaction's entirely different from the UK. The UK, they'd sit there and in America, they treat it like theatre, like the actors can hear you. I remember seeing a James Bond film. God knows which one it was a million years ago. And the people behind me going, look out, Jimmy. And they were serious. They were like, look out, Jimmy. Going.
And also it's different with different cultures, Russ, because actually if you look at the African American community, it's a sort of participation sport going to the cinema. So they all shout out, they all sort of, get really involved in what's going on. So, if you want absolute peace and quiet, then you choose which cinemas to go to, because culturally it's really very different.
There was a comedian that I loved, an unknown over here, called Ralphie May. White guy, but identified a lot with the black community, and he was terrific, because he could take the mick out of everybody. Got his huge guy, died far too young, but I'm not surprised. He was massively big, hilarious guy, and died not that long ago. And I only discovered him during lockdown, and he made me laugh like a drain. But he said when he's on tour, he loves to go to what he would call a black cinema because he loved the atmosphere and the whole thing and talking to the people, and the noise level is imagine a BAFTA screening where you're sitting there.
Well, you're not allowed to talk at BAFTA screenings.
No, you're not allowed not allowed to sneeze in the BAFTA screen. Oh God, look at this. This is hilarious. When Lesley, would you like to read this out? It's hilarious.
When they played Titanic to the US test audiences, the feedback was that the sad ending needed changing.
That's just hilarious. Look at this. This is coming in from Houston, Texas. My local cinema has waitress service and serves liquor. Julie, if you're coming back to the UK, liquor's spelled kind. All right, I'll let you get off with that.
Excuse me, my local cinema has waitress service.
Are you in Texas?
No.
Oh, well, there you are. End of conversation. Now, late to the party with me this week, by pure chance, no planning on my part, which is how I go through life. I started to binge watch. I know 7-8 years after everybody else. I apologize. Wolf Hall.
Oh, wow.
Wowza,
You are late to the party.
Yes, all right. I know I'm an idiot. I've never said I was clever.
You are clever too.
You're sweet. Wolf Hall 2, the musical.
More or less, no. But she wrote another book following it. Anyway, neither here nor there.
Wolf Hall. What a cast! If you haven't seen it, I know I'm the only person in the world not to have never saw it. Based on the books by Hilary Mantel, who died not that long ago. Bless her. What a writer! Fantastic. If you like the production, everything about it was just gripping. Just gripping.
It's a very good production, produced and directed by a guy called Peter Kosminski, who I used to work with at Yorkshire Television, who started in the documentaries department there.
Wow.
It's very intense. My only criticism, it's very underlit. So everything, it feels as though it's lit with candles. You've got to have a really good television and a really big screen. It's incredibly beautiful and it's very, very well made, but wonderful. Comes from a book that I think is 900 pages long.
Oh, so I've done myself a favour and saved myself 3 years of reading.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And then and I've forgotten that I'm going to mispronounce this.
I was just going to mention it. Litvinenko.
Litvinenko
on Channel 4. Is it Channel 4 or is it? Yes.
I think it was ITV.
ITV.
I think
absolutely. I mean, David Tennant is quite. He's a chameleon. The man is. I mean, as well as being.
Never made me laugh.
But what a not funny. Brilliant piece.
No, it's very good. It's in, for those that don't know, it's a true story about Litvinenko, who was a dissident, if you like, in Russia, and who was they think, so it seems, attacked by Russian forces in some way, shape or form. And I'm not going to spoil it for those that don't know the story, but it's a pretty well-known story. And David Tennant plays the part, mostly plays it from a hospital bed, and it's extraordinary.
It's a good
really,
piece. Really, because it's a very complicated story, and they take you through it in a great way. The whole thing was absolutely brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Anyway, enough of that. That's our roundup.
1 second, just really quickly. There's a play called Patriots, which is an old play, but it's been revived recently. It was at the Almeida, and Tom Hollander's got the lead in that, and he plays one of the characters that's mentioned in this Litvinenko thing. If Patriots is still on anywhere, I can recommend that, and the two link up together brilliantly.
Yeah.
Now,
I think it's a very hot ticket.
One of you is listening to this through the speakers of their laptop.
Not me.
One of you is, because I can hear everything else coming through. Right. What have you found that'll add to our viewing pleasure?
Okay, I'm going to start with something that I thought was enormously good fun. It's on Netflix. It's an hour and a half of just sort of lovely whimsy, basically, and it comes from a true story called The Bank of Dave. Have you seen it yet?
Heard of it.
Everyone's going on about it, but I've not seen it.
Everyone's going on about it. Yeah. It's basically about a real life salesman, a guy who owned a garage selling minivans. Not very exciting, you would think, but very, very interesting bloke called Dave. Let's just call him Dave because Dave is his name. And he comes from Burnley. And he's, a very nice businessman and clearly has a wonderful social conscience. And he realized about 10 years ago that a lot of people were actually having trouble making their payments on the minivans. So because he was such a kind, caring person and loved his local community, he started not bailing them out, but loaning them money so that they could put it on tick because they couldn't get loans from banks. So he was effectively a sort of, he was loaning privately money to people. He never once got let down by the local community. They all paid the money back to him. And then he thought, well, actually, this is doing great things. what I should now do is actually maybe create a little community bank. So I can do this for other people, but only put it into local community projects, local businesses to help other businessmen and women. And of course, what he then had to do is he had to go to the regulators to say, can I launch a little local community bank? And that's when all hell rains down on his shoulders, because it ends up in being adjudicated in London, where the Financial Services Authority and everybody else, including the big banks, are going, hang on a second, it's way more difficult than this. You cannot possibly set up your own bank. Briefly, he was trying to overturn something that was a law that had been in place for about 150 years. And it's a David and Goliath story. I mean, he is called Dave, but it is really a Dave and Goliath story about him taking on all the sort of snooty folk down in London in their pinstripe suits. And he's a bloke from Burnley who just sells minivans and is trying to do something really good for people. It's beautifully well acted. Hugh Bonneville, of course, is one of the snooty blokes in his pinstripe suit from London. But this lovely character, Dave Fishwick, is beautifully portrayed by Rory Kinnear, the son of Roy Kinnear, who I'm sure everybody will know from, he's done so many things, including all the James Bond films in recent years. And it's just delightful.
And he played Frankenstein. He played in Penny Dreadful, which was one of my favourite series of the last 10 years. He played Frankenstein's monster with such pathos. It was fantastic.
Oh, really?
Oh, God.
I didn't see that, actually.
Oh, well, a lot people just thought, oh, it's not for me. It was great. Penny Dreadful. And then they did the follow-up series, the name of which completely goes out of my head. And that was genius as well. Ramsey's saying this is hilarious. And you just heard Chantal Richards, OBE, said the Financial Services, also FSA. They didn't call it the FSA in the film for legal reasons. They called it the FRB.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Ramsey. Let's call it the FRB then.
That's hilarious. And then he goes on to say, I once saw his dad, Roy Kinnear, one of the great comedy actors of our era, in Pizza Hut near Charing Cross Road. I can top that because I wrote a script for Roy Kinnear. And
did you? What did you write?
Yes, I did. Well, in the days of corporate videos, in which I was always had at least 4 or 5 films on the go at the time, when I had an actual life and a career, at first, no proper actor would touch any corporate videos, and then the Watergates broke, and every actor, I worked with them all. And mate, Richard Bryars, I mean, you named them. It was incredible because the money was great and they could see it was proper scripts and proper production values and stuff like that. And I actually think this is going to make you die. I think it was from Dixon's or Curry's or something. I had Terry Scott, half the people from Are You Being Served? I mean, also for that particular project. Yeah.
You'll probably find it online if you look it up.
Oh God, do you think? Yeah, I know. It was funny, but it was an honor, to write. I was a huge fan, and also Rory Kinnear was in that. I know what he was in. The thing where they go undercover and they're like the British fascists, and he's the fascist leader. Oh, what a creepy!
I can't remember.
You used the word. One of you used the word chameleon.
Yes.
And he just disappears into the part. He's the most fantastic actor. Also,
he is. He's
the great thing about Rory Kinnear that you may or may not know, he is the voiceover artist, the narrator for all of Anthony Horowitz's books.
Is he? I didn't know that.
Oh God, he does the most wonderful job. Oh, fantastic! What a talent! I look at people like that and I listen to that and I think that is pure talent. How refreshing. How refreshing.
How lovely.
Anyway, there we are. Yes.
Oh, great good. Fan. Well, I love that. Great memories.
Look at this. He's gone mad, Ramsey, today. He goes, could you read this? I dare you to read this out. Lesley de Meza.
I also queued behind Kevin Costner at the Charing Cross tortilla. The lady looked at him, then looked at me and mouthed to me, "Is that him?" I nodded in that discreet way to confirm. very British reaction. If I'd been behind Kevin Costner, it wouldn't have been.
No, he wouldn't have forgotten that in a hurry. He'd have found a new way to eat a tortilla. That's for bloody sure. By the way, Kevin, it's interesting. Everybody now getting late to the party again, and we've talked about it. Yellowstone with Kevin
indeed.
Costner.
I'm really into Yellowstone at the moment.
Wowzer! And the preview of the
prequel. Yeah, there are 2 prequels actually.
Oh, okay.
And there might even be 3 prequels, but there are definitely 2.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What else?
Anyway, so I didn't want the day to go past without being marked, because I think it's important to everybody, and it just reminds us of how lucky we are to have the lives that we've currently got. But it is Holocaust Memorial Day.
Yes.
There is an awful lot of programming on television to mark this event. And the BBC have done a 3-part documentary series. It's 3 2-hour films. They're very hard to get through as big 2-hour chunks, I'm just warning you. But it is unbelievably interesting, because the title of it, and you'll think, hang on, I don't quite get this, but you will understand this probably more than me. It's actually called America and the Holocaust. Yes. And you wouldn't necessarily put the 2 in the same sentence, but that was why I was... Well, of course, I now know so much more than I did before I started watching this behemoth of a documentary series, which actually everybody should be made to sit down and watch. It's incredibly well informed. It's beautiful archive. I say beautiful, but the archive has been so well researched. And actually, in many ways, there wasn't very much archive at the beginning because people didn't know what was going on. But even so, the archive of Germany at the time has been extraordinarily well brought together. The American link was really quite new to me, because I didn't quite understand which side America was on really before they came into the war. And there were many people in America who were very pro-Nazi. I hadn't even understood that that the film community on the West Coast in Hollywood, where, I've lived and worked, they were very, very pro-Nazi, to the extent that 2 or 3 of the studios would have their scripts double-checked by the local German consul general to make sure that they weren't saying anything that was anti-German or anti the establishment, and that anything that might have shown them in a bad light was then cut from the scripts. I had no idea that this had been going on. I mean, really extraordinary.
You could tell, by the way, just 2 things. You could tell it was Holocaust Memorial Day because all the Corbyn fan club, the brown shirts as I call them, all over Twitter saying what a wonderful man he was. Seriously, today. And of course, David Baddiel, who's tried to do so much, they have trolled him mercilessly today.
It's not on.
And well, the sad thing is, it is on. And it's just as good. I looked at it, I felt physically sick, and I came away because I thought it is not going to ruin I'm not going to let these scumbags ruin my day. Here's something you may or may not know. And I railed against this type of thing because my daughter was born in America. I love America. I've lived there. I've worked there. Been there God knows how many times. Eugenics, which was the basic foundation of all of the camps and all of the conforming to the Aryan ideal, came out of America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it came from Charles Lindbergh, as in the Lindbergh baby, as in flying across the Atlantic.
Yeah.
Same guy. It's never talked about. It's never shown. And after the war, Lindbergh was over in Germany. I don't know how many different wives, because he married at the same time, polymorphous, or whatever the hell they call it, and had all these children. And he was totally into the purity of the race and all of that stuff. And of course, being an all-American hero, it's never discussed.
Yeah.
But it also, I'll just throw this one last thought, and then you can say, Russell, you really are a member of the tin hat community. The baby, when it was born, had a defect. So the whole thing, yeah, I'll just leave it there. You work it out. Okay.
Yikes.
Onwards. Yeah. Yikes.
Okay. Well, the history in this is incredibly well done, and it is really, really worth watching. It's hard, it's brutal in so many ways, but it's an incredibly well-made documentary. And I love the personal testimony. That, to me, brings it all to it makes it so real. So you get the great history, but you also get this wonderful personal testimony from several.
A question? I want to ask a question to Lesley, and then Chantal, and it's this: hours of document makes me very upset. Hours of documentary footage, hours of personal testimony, photographs. The Germans, I don't call them Nazis, I call them the Germans. The Germans were meticulous note takers, keepers of records. It's all there in meticulous detail. Why are the deniers given 5 seconds of airtime? Why? And why is it stronger now than ever?
I can't answer that. Of course I can't answer that. I mean, it's, people have taken film and stuff over years and said, oh, it's not true, or it is true. God knows. But I don't think they should be allowed to voice their opinion. But then if we shut people's opinions down, it's censorship. I just don't know, Russ. I don't have an answer.
It's disgusting. Chantal?
Yeah. Well, where it's inside.
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, well, it makes no sense, quite clearly. And fortunately, most of those people aren't given a lot of airtime because they don't deserve it. Because, I mean, it's horrible and racist and should be stamped out. But I mean, if there's anything good that's come out of the last 6 months, it's that lunatic Alex Jones in America was fined however many millions of dollars for being a Sandy Hook massacre denier.
Oh yeah, I mean, that was
and so actually tolerance levels are going down. People don't take this stuff.
But he was interviewed not long ago. He's as bumptious, like him or loathe him. I'm not getting into the whole Alex Jones thing. It's not my cup of tea. But he hasn't apologized. Well, I mean, he said he's sorry. No, he said he's sorry, but it was way too late by then. But he's as big and as bumptious and as confident as he ever was. I saw an interview like the week before last with him.
But he won't ever repeat that again. That's the thing. I mean, he has stopped saying that. He might say other ridiculous things that people, politicians want to hear, or people on the right wing want to hear, but he won't say that again.
He won't do that. But I think, please don't underestimate, and I know I bang on about this, but we have to understand that America, where we've all spent a lot of time, their scale is so much more than we have here. Alex Jones, and I've said this before, and I will say it again because I want to try and just get it across. On one day, on his website, he's making $250,000 on merchandise. $250,000 a day on just his merchandise. This is the scale of the operation. Don't think it's just some lunatic sitting in his back bedroom spouting off garbage. It's not.
Yeah.
That's why it's important that these things are monitored and looked at and thought about. It's huge.
Indeed. It's huge. Indeed.
All right, let's lighten the mood, for Christ's sake. Find a comedy.
Okay. Well, lighten the mood, sort of, but not necessarily so. But a good crime drama that's just suddenly hit. Something called Paramount Plus, which I don't talk about very often, but actually it's quite interesting. It's not a great title. It's called The Chemistry of Death, but it's a bit like the British version of CSI, which is one of the biggest television franchises in the world. I mean, literally one of the biggest in the world.
See what I did? I was doing my Horatio Kane, right?
Indeed. Well, people are really interested in effectively the chemistry of the dying process. And so the person at the center of this, unlike Gil Grissom, who is the hero of CSI in the American series, this is a forensic pathologist, and a forensic pathologist is the person who normally works with the police when a crime has happened or there is a mysterious death, the regular pathologists are the guys or guys and girls based in hospitals who are doing the more mundane stuff. But forensic pathology, there are very few of them, but they're very, very specialized people. Anyway, this is a crime drama, but it's based around you find a dead body and then you uncover the mystery. So there isn't a lot of violence in it, which is great because I'm not very keen on seeing violence. But that's why CSI has been so popular. Because like a lot of those programs, Law and Order as well from America, you start with the crime when the crime has happened, and then you unravel it. Because girls aren't great at watching the violent stuff. So this is where these programs have become so incredibly successful.
What are we up to? Year 20, I think. It's been over 20 years of Law and Order.
They just lay out the story and then unravel.
What is it? 20 years of Law and Order so far?
Yeah. Oh,
at least 20 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And never.
Yeah. I mean,
ever,
CSI.
And you know what? Never a bad episode. Ever.
Wow,
no, the standard of that writing is just sensationally good. Sensationally good.
And CSI was created by Jerry Bruckheimer, who I think I mentioned that I chatted to a couple of weeks ago in Los Angeles. Anyway, this is called The Chemistry of Death.
Did you hear that? Paramount Plus. Hang on. I walk the dog, and my big news is that I give her a bath. You go to work in the charity shop. She's with Jerry Bruckheimer. Who's got their life right here? Jesus Christ. Look at this.
She got very wet as well. She did get wet.
I did get wet.
She doesn't care. She doesn't care. Her stilettos go above the water level. I've seen Chantal always has spare shoes in a bag, and it's not a huge bag. She has this little bag. She's like Mary Poppins, and then she gets to the venue, and the shoes change, and then she does that, and she goes, "Oh, they're killing me!" And then on the way back, she changes it. I don't know what she's like. 23 years of Law and Order, fantastic.
Crazy stuff. Yeah. Anyway, Chemistry of Death is a new 6-parter on Paramount Plus, which if you've got Sky, you can find it further down there. Yeah. So it's, or you can get Paramount Plus yourself.
Is it like
directly.
Is it a bit like Silent Witness, which I love Silent Witness. And Waking the Dead, they're both great.
It's sort of more exciting than Silent Witness. I think Silent Witness has run its course, and I think actually it should be dead and buried now. But that's just a personal thing.
It's gone right off the boil. It's now.
Somebody, I said to a film producer friend of mine, I said, I really like so and so. Doesn't matter who it is. I won't do that in the show. And he said to me, "Yeah, her ambition will strip the enamel off your teeth."
Oh dear. Anyway, well, I think we should leave that where it is.
I'm leaving. I'm parking it.
Any more for a tiny moment?
Any more for actually another thing that I watched that I thought was rather good. I've only seen the first episode, so bear with me. It's a 4-parter on Channel 5, and it's called The Catch, with a fantastic actor, Jason Watkins, who you will recognize instantly. His name is not as recognizable as his face. I loved him on W1A, where he was the sort of grumpy BBC executive, but it's very good. He's a fisherman, the southwest of England. Somebody's tampering with his boat. His daughter's being chatted up by a character that we think is a rascal. He's suffering from the death of his son, who has died some 10 years earlier, and everything starts going horribly wrong. It's a mystery. It looks jolly good. It's very nicely filmed. It's a 4-parter. It looks extremely bingeable, other than the fact that they've only put the first episode out. So wait for 3 weeks and then binge it all. And that's on Channel 5.
Isn't it interesting how we've got so used to instant gratification? You go,
I
can't wait. Very, very quickly into our final minute. I tell you, it's interesting. You guys said, both said that Silent Witness has gone off the boil. That happens. And I tell you what's come right back to full boiling point, and this sounds so silly, is Death in Paradise. This is series 12. Yeah, all right, okay. This is series 12. It's a belter of a series.
It's a belter.
It's really good. The scripts and everything have gone through the roof. Thank you so much, both of you.
Pleasure.
Welcome back to the joy that is the United Kingdom, Chantal. Welcome back. I look forward to seeing you soon. Welcome back from the charity shop of the year. I've just made that up. It doesn't actually exist. I will be back, God willing, if we survive, on Monday with Neil Long and loads of guests. Thank you both for taking part. Thank you, everybody, for your lovely comments. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. Bye, gang. Bye.